Welcome, everyone. My name is Simon Wright. I'm the Director of Programming here at Japan House London. And thank you for joining us at Japan House London for this special event exploring the craftsmanship of Takaoka shikki, which is lacquerware, and Raden, mother of pearl inlay from Toyama Prefecture. In addition to our audience here in the hall, we are also live streaming on Zoom and across social media. So a warm welcome to all of our guests online. Please note that this event is being recorded and a recording will be available on YouTube after the event. So this event is presented in collaboration with Toyama Prefecture and the Japan National Tourism Organization as a part of our Spotlight on Local Japan program, celebrating Japan's regional diversity here at Japan House London. And today we explore the distinctive qualities of Takaoka shikki, which is lacquerware from Toyama, renowned for its decorative techniques, including aogai-nuri, which means blue shell lacquer. This intricate form of raden involves shading shells so thinly they become translucent, producing a subtle blue hue when applied to black lacquer. We're very honored to have with us Musashigawa Takeshi, a fourth-generation Raden craftsman from Takaoka in Toyama, whose family workshop has specialized in this craft since 1910. As one of only 7 artisans currently practicing this technique in Takaoka, Musashigawa-san is instrumental in preserving the tradition. Today, he will introduce the defining features of Takaoka shikki and give a live demonstration of Raden decoration, providing insight into the precision and artistry behind this craft. And after the talk and demonstration, we will open the floor for questions. And for those joining us on Zoom, you can also take part by posing your questions using the Zoom question and answer function. But to begin with, I would like to introduce you to the Director General of Toyama Prefecture's Regional Revitalization Bureau, Mr. Tanaka Masatoshi, who will give us a brief introduction to this region of Japan. Will you please join me in welcoming Tanaka Masatoshi?
Hello, I'm Masatoshi Tanaka, Director General of Toyama Prefecture. I appreciate all of you for being here today for my presentation on Toyama. Have you ever heard about Toyama? Toyama is filled with many wonderful things. I'd like to lead a trip with you here to explore the charms of Toyama. While Toyama is compact in terms of its land, it is home to the Tateyama mountain range, which rises 3,000 meters above sea level, and Toyama Bay, which is 1,000 meters deep. A lot of snow falls on the mountains, which then melts and flows into Toyama's many rivers, refreshes the land, and flows into the bay. This 4,000 meter change in elevation produces beautifully unique nature and provides us with a rich food culture. Now, let me introduce the 3 attractions of Toyama. First, great nature and landscapes. Second, traditional and historical experiences. Third, good quality of everyday life. Before our short trip, I have to show the map to Toyama. Toyama is located in the center of Japan with easy access to Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, and Kyoto. It takes 2 hours from Tokyo by Shinkansen or 1 hour by plane. From Kyoto, it also takes 2 hours by train. Firstly, let me introduce Toyama's great nature. Here is Tateyama, a mountain range with a 3,000 meters high summit. Only in spring, you can find a 20-meter high snow walls, a breathtaking view that you won't find anywhere else in Japan. Tateyama Kurobe Alpine Route is a world-class mountain tourism route accessible by cable cars and ropeways. Kurobe Dam, Japan's tallest dam, is also worth visiting. You can go up as a day trip directly from Toyama's city center. In Kurobe Gorge, you can see the clear waters of the Kurobe River from an open-air trolley train, as well as enjoy the beautiful autumn leaves. Come to Toyama to be fascinated by our beautiful views. In spring, the Toyama mountain range, with its white snow-capped peaks, provides a miraculous color combination with cherry blossom, tulips, and yellow nanohana blossom. You can enjoy the seasonal scenery of the Shogawa Gorge, the fresh greenery in summer, and the vivid autumn leaves are beautiful. In addition, you can enjoy the scenery that looks like a black and white ink painting in winter. This is a view of Scarlet Village in Toyama's open plain. This view is beautiful in every season, but is especially famous for the sunset reflecting on the water-filled rice paddies. Next, let me introduce our history and tradition. In Japan, there are 26 World Heritage Sites listed by UNESCO, and one of them is in Toyama. It is the small village Gokayama. This village is famous for its style of roofs, shaped like people praying with their hands together. People still live there today. At Gokayama village, visitors can also feel Toyama's history. Toyama has two famous temples, which is designated as a national treasure. Shokoji Temple, the core temple of Buddhism in Toyama area, can tell us the Japanese traditional and local Buddhism. The beautiful temple is Shokoji, the Ziryuji Temple, and Great Buddha of Takaoka, which symbolize the tradition of Takaoka Lacquerware, are the best places to feel our history and tradition. Of course, there are many other temples in Toyama. This is a 1,300-year-old Buddhist temple. You can try spiritual training and meditation under a cold waterfall. Restaurant near this temple offer you some somen noodles, liver fish, and wild vegetables to local cuisine. Then I would like to present a tour of traditional and spiritual experience. The Tateyama Mountains I previously introduced is also listed in 3 holy mountains of Japan, same as Mount Fuji, and have spiritual stories. This painting is Tateyama Mandala. Tateyama has beautiful views, but also has a hot volcanic gas emitting area. Therefore, people used to say Tateyama has both hell and heaven. Traditional festivals are also a must-see. This picture is the most famous festival in Toyama. It held every September over the past 300 years in Yatsuo town, where the old townscape still remains. And the site of the street parade dance with traditional folk song is very romantic and moody. 33 Japanese float festivals are listed by UNESCO in Tangible Cultural Heritage, and 3 of them are in Toyama. Once you can see these festivals, you will be impressed deeply. Next, let me also introduce craft, high-quality food, and daily life in Toyama. Toyama is famous for great nature and also known globally for craft arts such as Takaoka Lacquerware, Takaoka Copperware, and Inami wood carving. This artistic culture has been passed down only among craftsmen who had strict training, but nowadays it is introduced widely to tourists who can experience these crafts in a special workshop. Restaurants in Toyama offers you freshly caught seafood and wild game from the mountains. Here in Lebo is one of the restaurants where you can taste local wild game with the furniture and tableware, which all are made in Toyama. Also, I'd like to introduce many hotels in Toyama, but today I choose one special unique hotel, Rakudoan. Rakudoan, which is located in a scattered village with beautiful rice paddies, is a cozy hotel built with unique regional architecture. Lastly, I have to tell you seafood culture. Toyama Bay, into which snow melt from Tateyama Mountain flows, is called nature's fish tank for its variety of fish and special underwater topography. At this fisherman's wharf, you can enjoy afternoon lively seafood auction. So, when you come to Toyama, please taste Toyama Bay sushi, made with fresh regional local fish, caught only in Toyama Bay. Snow melt from the Tateyama mountain range brings cold and pure water to the land, which allows for Toyama to make tasty Japanese sake. One sake maker also has a whiskey distillery, which is quite popular among Japanese whiskey lovers recently. This concludes a short trip to Toyama before today's main event exploring Takaoka Lacquerware and Raden. After today's demonstration, please feel free to ask us for more information about Toyama to plan your trip. I'm sure your trip to Toyama will be unforgettable. We in Toyama are looking forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tanaka-san. It's all whetted our appetites, I believe, isn't it, for a trip to Toyama. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the main speaker for today. That's Master Craftsman Musashigawa Takeshi, fourth generation Raden artist from Takaoka in famous Toyama Prefecture. Musashigawa-san will be speaking in Japanese, and interpretation will be provided kindly by Air Kurosawa. So please join me in welcoming Musashigawa Takeshi. Thank you very much.
Minasan, 皆さんはじめまして、富山県高岡市から来ました、螺鈿職人の武蔵川武と言います。
Hello, nice to meet you all. And my name is Musashigawa Takeshi, and as being introduced by Simon, I came from Takaoka City in Toyama, and I'm a Raden artist.
今日は皆さんの前でこの高岡漆器の、螺鈿の魅力を紹介できることを、とても嬉しく思っています。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
I feel very privileged to have this opportunity to present the appeals of Toyama, Takaoka Lacquerware, as well as Raden. So thank you for coming.
私は武蔵川工房の、螺鈿職人として4代目になります。
I am the fourth generation crafts person of Takaoka Lacquerware Studio.
曽祖父の代から螺鈿職人をして、今は父と母と、妻と私の4人で、職人をしています。
The studio is called Musashigawa Studio, and my great-grandfather had set up the studio. Now, the studio is run by my father, mother, my wife, as well as myself.
普段は、父の机の横で私が、座って、私の横に、妻が座って、その横に母が座って、4人並んで仕事をしています。
There are 4 desks in a row, and we all sit with each other while we are working. So my father would be on the furthest side, then myself, my wife, then my mother, and we all work together.
漆の説明を簡単にしたいと思います。
Let me explain a little about urushi.
漆の木を、まずカットして、そこから、染み出した樹液が、その塗料や、接着剤に、として使います。
Urushi is the name of the tree, and you first make the cuts, and the sap that comes out of these cuts will be used for a coating or painting.
漆には、抗菌作用があり、漆は何回も塗り重ねることによって、丈夫で長持ちして使えます。
Urushi is also used for adhesive as well, and it has antibacterial properties. The more you apply it, it would make the woodware durable.
スライドの写真で、スライドの写真に、この3000年前の、漆器の器が日本の遺跡から出土しました。
You see on the top right, this lacquerware vessel was excavated from around 3,000 years ago.
日本は古くからこのお椀や、仏像など、日用の生活用品に漆を塗っていました。
Japanese have used urushi for a very long time, from anything onto Buddha statues to everyday objects such as balls.
日本人は物を大切に使う文化があり、壊れても漆で直したり、塗ったりして新しく、また大切に使います。
Within the Japanese culture, there is a spirit of valuing what you have. So we try and keep using the same object as long as possible. And urushi was very good for that, to repair and make usage of an object.
その修復技術に金継ぎという、修復技術があります。
One of the repair techniques is called kintsugi.
物が割れたり欠けたり、ひびが入ったりしたところに、漆を接着剤にして、直していきます。そのひびのところに、金粉を巻いて、金色をつけていきます。
If your plate or balls, if you break them, or if they get cracked, or if there's a slight dent, you would apply urushi as adhesive, and then apply gold dust on top, and that would create a beautiful color and patterns.
その日本人はその、模様を、景色と呼び、その楽しく、その大切に使っていきました。
Those patterns are called keshiki in Japanese, landscape, and they were highly valued within the culture.
これは、日本の地図になります。
And this is a Japanese map, as you can see.
この色がついているところが、漆の、産地になります。
And the prefectures that have been colored are the area that they have urushi production.
各産地によってこの漆の、特徴が、いろいろあります。
And the characteristics of urushi lacquerware from these regions are all different.
この、濃く色付けされたところが、富山県の高岡漆器になります。
And the bright green that you see in the center, that is where Toyama Prefecture is and where Takaoka Lacquerware is from.
高岡は、富山県の第2の都市になります。
Takaoka City is the second biggest city within Toyama Prefecture.
高岡は前田利長公が、400年前に、高岡の町を築きました。
Takaoka City was built by the feudal lord Maeda Toshinaga around 400 years ago.
その時に、京都から、漆器の職人や鋳物の職人を連れてきました。
At the time, he brought many craftspeople of urushi and cast metalware from Kyoto.
そこから400年、高岡ではずっと、漆器の産地として、今も仕事をしています。
The tradition is still present to this day for 400 years with the craftspeople working.
これは高岡の、三車山祭りという5月1日に行われるお祭りになります。
And on the right-hand side, you see the picture of the festival that is held on the 1st of May in Takaoka called Mikurumi-yama Festival.
この車輪にも、高岡漆器や高岡銅器の装飾が、豪華に、装飾されています。
And these floats are decorated with Takaoka Lacquerware. They are extremely extravagant.
この写真は私たちはこの山と呼び、この山が、7つ、高岡の町を、巡行します。
And these floats are called yama, meaning mountain. And there are 7 of these yamas, and they would go all around the city.
ユネスコの無形文化遺産に、登録されていて、動く美術館と言われています。
This festival is registered under the intangible cultural properties of UNESCO World Heritage, and it is called the Moving Art Museum.
私も子供の頃この上に乗って、お祭りに参加していました。
And when I was small, I was one of these children on Yama.
今はもう大人なのでこの下の方で山を押して引いています。
Now I'm an adult and older. I am one of these men pulling the Yama.
とても、魅力的なお祭りなので、皆さんも機会があればぜひお祭りに遊びに来てください。
It is a great, wonderful, beautiful festival. So when you get a chance, please come and visit the festival.
高岡漆器は、装飾の、技術がとても高い産地になります。
Takaoka Lacquerware is known for its high skills on the decoration of the lacquerware.
主に彫刻塗りと、aogai-nuriの技法があります。
The notable techniques, 2 of them, are carved lacquer and blue shell lacquer.
産地として、高岡は分業制になっています。
And Takaoka Lacquerware takes on the division of labor.
まず、最初に、木地師という、職人が、木でベースを作ります。
First process would be taken by kijishi, woodworker, and they would create the base with the wood.
その後、漆を塗る主屋さんに、この真ん中の問屋さんが、物を運んだりします。
And the wholesaler would take on that wood base to be passed on to the next step, which is the lacquering. So the lacquerer would take that on.
漆を塗ったら今度は螺鈿の職人に、問屋さんが運び込みます。
After the lacquer has been applied, they would be passed back on to wholesaler. Then wholesaler would move that on to shell inlay artisan.
この真ん中の問屋さんが、このいろんな職人のつなぎ役を担っています。
The wholesaler is the integral part of the connection point between these artisans.
このaogai-nuriり、この私の仕事のaogai-nuriりを紹介したいと思います。
Let me introduce you the blue shell lacquer, which is my technique that I practice every day.
まず材料は、国産の、アワビ貝を使用します。
For the material, we use Japanese abalone.
この下の写真にあるようにこの貝殻を、カットして、0.1 ミリという厚さに、薄く研磨していきます。
The bottom picture shows what we use. So the mother of pearl inlay would be cut very thinly, shaved off into 0.1 millimeter thickness.
極限まで薄く加工することによって、この漆の黒い面に貼り付けると、白っぽい 今白っぽく映ってますが、この青と赤に光るのが特徴です。
Due to its fragile thinness of it, if you apply it against black background, you see the iridescent color in blue tone.
青く光るので、高岡では青貝塗りと呼ばれています。
This blue tone is where the name comes from, aogai-nuri, blue shell lacquer in Takaoka.
この貝の輝きが、青く赤とか光る輝きが、私は一番の魅力だと思っています。
And I believe this is the biggest appeal of Takaoka Lacquerware, how the Raden, the mother of pearls, will reflect lights in a different way from blue to red.
これは高岡の、工程のパネルになります。
And this slide shows the different processes of Takaoka Lacquerware.
この赤く囲んでいる部分が、私の仕事になります。
And the 3 steps that are circled in red is what I take on.
まず、この私の1番目の最初がまずデザインを、考えます。
So the first step for me is to come up with the design.
デザインが決まったら、置き目というデザインを器物に写し取る作業があります。
And the next step would be okime, which is where I trace the design onto the wood base.
その後ベースを、カットして貼り付けていきます。
And the next, I would layer that base with the shells after I've cut them.
デザインによってはこの毛彫りという、貝の上から細く線を放り込むこともします。
Depending on the design, I would then add another step called hairline engraving after the shells have been placed.
貝のカット方法、は、そうですね、これは貝の、カットの写真になります。
And this slide shows how the shell is being cut.
昔からこの針で、貝をカットしています。
As for the utensils, we have used needle for a very long time.
図案が透けて、貝がとても薄いので、この図案の上に貝を乗せると図案が透けて見えます。その線を見ながら針でカットしていきます。
The thinness of the shell allows us to see through the design when it's been placed on top of the paper, and then you could trace it over with the needle.
天然の貝なので、この左側の写真にあるようにこの白く波が打ったところが、貝が割れやすいので、そこを避けて、カットしていきます。
As these shells are natural material, there are natural indentations, and we have to be careful not to place too much pressure on these points, otherwise the shell would break.
貝の輝きも一つ一つ違うので、輝きのいいところを使ったりもします。
And as you can imagine, these iridescent light reflections are all different with each shell. So we try and utilize as much of these natural coloring as much as possible.
この、貝の裏から、着色するのも高岡の特徴になります。
And another characteristics of Takaoka Lacquerware is how we apply color from the back of the shell.
伏せ彩色といって、江戸時代の時代から行っている技術になります。
This technique is called fusesaishiki, hidden coloring, and it dates back to the Edo period.
材料がとても薄いので、裏から色をつけて、貝の上、色を透かして見せています。
The thinness of the shell would allow the colors to come through, and it would be visible even applied from the back.
パーツが小さいものはやっぱり割れないように注意をしながら色をつけていきます。
We are extremely careful when we are coloring, and especially with the smaller parts.
これは貝を貼り付けている、工程になります。
And this is the application of the shell.
高岡は貼り付けるときにこの接着剤はニカワという接着剤を使います。
For adhesive, we use Nikawa in Takaoka.
ニカワとは動物や魚の骨とか皮を煮込んだときに取れるコラーゲンの成分です。
Nikawa is animal based. It is made with animal bones and the skin, fur. It's a collagen material.
夏場はやっぱり動物のものなのでちょっと、腐ったりして、工房はちょっと、変わった匂いがします。
As it's animal based, it could be easily spoiled, especially in the summer. So the workshop doesn't smell that pleasant during that season.
これ最後に行うのは毛彫りという技術です。
The last step is kebori, hairline engraving.
貝を貼り付けて乾燥した後、この太めの針で、この細い線を表現します。
After the shells have been applied and all the adhesive and the shells are dry, we apply these lines with thick needles.
次は最後、漆を塗る職人さんにバトンタッチします。
And after my process, I would pass the products on to the lacquerer.
貝の上から漆を、何回も、貝の上から漆を塗っていきます。
Urushi will be applied on top of the shelled decoration.
貝の上にも漆が黒く、塗って貝が見えなくなるので、貝の上の漆だけを刃物で削る貝むきという技法があります。
But that urushi lacquer on top of the shell would make the shells appear dark, and we need to take away the urushi on top of the shells, and that process is called kaimuki, peeling of the shell.
貝の、厚みが約 0.1 ミリ、それで漆を1回塗ることに 0.03 ミリの厚みになります。それを、だから3回から4回塗ると貝が、完全に埋まってフラットな状態になります。
These shell decorations, the thinness of it is about 0.1 millimeter, as I keep saying, and urushi layer, each coat of it is 0.03 millimeter. So if you apply 3 or 4 coatings, that would be about the same thickness, and it would result in the flat surface.
これは伝統工芸士という資格を取るときに私が作った、作品になります。
And this work, I created this when I was being certified for the Master of Traditional Crafts.
これは経済産業省の高い、その技術と、高い知識を持った人に、認定される、ものになります。
And this is a national certificate granted by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI. It is granted to the craftspeople who presented high experience as well as highly skilled.
この技術を、12年以上、そしてこの技術を全ての技術を使った一つの作品、あと筆記試験があります。
Due to be certified, you needed to have worked over 12 years as a craftsperson and pass their written exam, as well as create work that exhibits all the techniques that I have explained.
私のほかに父と、妻も、伝統工芸士の資格を持っています。
At the studio, my father and my wife both hold the certificate of the Master of Traditional Crafts.
先ほど言ったように、すべての、技術で、作品を作っています。
as I have explained, you need to showcase all the skills that is required to be certified.
後で実演で見せますが、針でカットする方法と、刃物で押して切る方法、あとは、型で打ち抜く方法、あとは裏から着色、色をつける方法になります。
One of the notable techniques would be to cut the shell with the needle and then cut the shell with the chisel, as well as using the stencil to cut them, as well as and the coloring from the back.
そうですね。このひげの細かいところを針でカットするのがとても大変でした。
It was very tricky to work on the beard of the dragon to cut it with a needle.
あと、私の母親はこの材料を、もったいないと言って無駄なく使うことを、よく言われます。
And my mother often talks about the spirit of mottainai to save and as much let not a lot of the materials being wasted.
それで、この貝の端材を粉末状にしてこういう後ろの雲の表現を、無駄なく使って表現しています。
So these clouds on the box, I have made them with the powdered shell that I have created from the waste of the shell that we had in the studio.
この写真は、代々4代にわたって、仕事をしてきた時のこの図案っていうものを、保管しているところになります。
And the picture that I am in was taken at the store step space that we have for the design drawings, which has the design drawings over 4 generations of the studio.
もう数としてはもう数千種類の図案が残っています。
There are thousands and thousands of designs that we have.
私もこの先代のデザインを、新しい商品に参考に使ったりしています。
I use the older generation's design as a reference material.
こちらの、左上の猫の、商品ですが、これは私の妻と、デザインの話をよくします。
And the top left picture shows the product that we made with the cat motif. I often talk about designing process with my wife.
妻が、猫のこの絵を描き、私が螺鈿で表現しました。
My wife drew the cat drawing design, and then I have created this with Raden.
やっぱり可愛いものと、可愛いものを掛け合わせると、もっと可愛くなるんじゃないかと思って、話し合って作りました。
The intent of this design is that if you combine something cute and something beautiful, maybe that would multiply the appeal of something, and this is the result of it.
この、猫がかぶっているのは、富山県の、立山という山に生息する、ライチョウがモチーフです。
And the cat actually has a hat, which is based on the motif of laicho, Rak Taminen. It's the type of bird that exists in Tateyama. It's the symbol of Toyama Prefecture.
この右の方の写真は、この高岡はものづくりデザイン科といって、高岡の、伝統工芸を体験する授業があります。
And the picture on the right was taken at a school at Monozukuri Taikenka, which is the lesson that allows the students to experience craftsmaking.
子どもたちに、私も青貝塗りを、職人として教えに行っています。
So I go to these schools to teach blue shell lacquer technique to the students.
高岡漆器の職人も、近年高齢化で、今螺鈿の職人はもう7人しかいません。
We suffer from the aging population problem within our industry as well. There in Takaoka, there are only 7 lacquerware craftspeople who can take on this technique process.
こういった授業で、この子どもたちに、高岡漆器の魅力を、伝えたり体験してもらったりすることが、今後高岡漆器の未来としてつながっていくと思っています。
I believe the fact that I go to school to teach these, speak to these students and tell them about the beautiful appeal of Takaoka Lacquerware could be the next step to ensure that there is future generations.
実際に小学校の時に教えた子が大人になって、高岡銅器や高岡漆器の、職人になりたいという声が、聞いています。
I have heard there is a real life example of this being a success case. There have been some students who experienced these experiential workshop when they were in elementary school. They now aspire to become a lacquerware craftsman, a craftsperson, as well as copperware crafts.
私の使命はこの400年、高岡漆器の、培ってきた文化や歴史や、ものづくり、それを多くの人に伝えて、次につなげていくことが必要だと思っています。
I believe it is my duty to make sure that the baton is being passed on to the next generation, not to let this tradition that has been carried on for more than 400 years in my generation.
これで発表は以上です。皆さんに高岡漆器の魅力について、知ってもらえて、お話ができてとても嬉しく思っています。どうもありがとうございました。
And that concludes my demonstration. I am extremely honored to be able to talk to you about the appeals of Takaoka Lacquerware. So thank you very much for your kind listening.
Thank you very much, Musashigawa-san. Thank you, and for your excellent interpretation. Thank you. We're now going to have a demonstration, so please do take a seat. Get ready. We're going to have a close-up as well. So those of you at the back needn't worry too much.
はい、やっていけば。
どうぞ。
はい、すみません。そしたら、まず先ほど言った黒い面に貝殻をこれ今この薄い貝殻これ0.1ミリの貝殻になります。
Okay, so the first step that I'd like to show you is the blueness of this thin shell. I'm holding one of the materials that we use. Look how thin it is.
これを、今黒い面にちょっとピタッと貼り付けてみたいと思います。
Let me show you the color of it against the blue background.
二側も一緒な。水の二側も一緒なので、こういう同じことになる。
So for today, we are showing you with water, but how the color shows up is the same with water and Nikawa adhesive.
こういう白っぽいですけど、貼り付けるとこ青に光ります。
You can see the color difference clearly against the dry one. Look, the top one is very white and the bottom one is blue.
はい。そして、カットの、やり方、カットを見せていきたいと思います。
And next, I'd like to show you how I cut the pearl.
先ほど説明したように、まずこの針で、貝をカットしていきたいと思います。
As I have explained, so one of the ways to cut the shell that I use is the needle cutting.
これは私の父親が、デザインした、図案になります。
And the design drawing that I have is done by my father.
完成品はこんな。
And this, the product that I have, I lay next to it is based on this drawing.
で、図案の上にまず貝を置き、
So first you place the shell on top of the design drawing.
これをちょっと針で切っていきたいと思います。
And let me cut this with the needle.
ちょっと多少時間かかるので。
It will take a little bit of time, so please bear with us.
この貝の切る角度が大事で、この貝をこう寝かせて、進む方向に寝かせて切っていきます。
The angle that you place the needle and pierce the needle onto the shell is extremely important. So you have to be careful. The angle is controlled with how you place the shell. 普段は見られて仕事することないんで、ちょっと緊張してます。 I'm a little nervous because nobody watches me when I'm working at the studio.
ちょっと失敗して割れたら笑ってください。
Please just please consider it as my deliberate comedy effect if the shell does break.
ちょっと手が震えてる。
My hands are shaking.
この部分
So this is the part that I was cutting.
はい。これが針で切る一つの昔からのやり方です。
So this is the old technique that we use cutting with the needle.
で、2つ目の切り方はこの金型を
The next technique uses the stencil, metal stencil.
こういう型を作ります。
You first make the stencil with the metal material.
この貝の上にこの金型を乗せます。
So you place the stencil on top of the shell.
この木で塞ぎ込んでしまって、
And then you
ちょっとびっくりしますが、
place the wood on top, and then you hammer it. Sorry if it surprised you.
すいません、失敗しました。
Sorry, that was a fail. Soもう一回やりますか？
もう一回やり
Okay,
ます。
well, I'll do it again, but please forget the last one, and then
ちょっとこの下のこの机がちょっと、はい、
the desk that I'm using is different to the one that I'm using. That's
こういうちょっと割れちゃいましたけど、
yes, like this.
桜の花びら。
So this is the petal of the this is the petal of the cherry blossom.
こういう
As such.
はい、こういう型で抜く、 カットの方法もあります。
So this is the stencil cutting technique.
で、同じものを2個以上、量産しなきゃいけないときは、この金型を自分で作ります。
When we need to produce more than one product, for example, we would tend to use the stencil cutting.
あとはこの刃物でこの押し切って、カットする方法を見せます。
And the next is I'll show you the chisel cutting.
直線の刃物でこう押してあげるとまっすぐに貝が切れます。
If you need to cut something straight, I would tend to use this chisel cutting to place it on top of the shell.
この短冊の幅に切っていきます。
So you create narrow bars, leaves with the chisel.
ここ押すとこう切れます。
If you apply adequate pressure, then the shell would break. Cut. これを今3枚重ねて、このまた刃物で押し切って切っていきます。 So I have layered all three that I have cut and then put another chisel on top.
こういうパーツをいっぱい今切りました。
So as you can see, many of the parts of this size have been cut.
これはこうパーツを並べると
So if I
何
combine them all,
何になるかわかりますか？
can you guess what I was cutting these for?
葉っぱではないです。
Not leaves, no.
正解です。
Correct, yes, petals.
こういうのを並べて花びらに下にします。
So I have arranged them into petals.
ちょっと今これ2側で貼ってないんでちょっと貼り合わせづらいですけど。
It's a little bit trickier to work with because I don't have adhesive nikawa underneath.
まあこんな感じで。
But it would look a bit similar to this.
あと時間は大丈夫ですか？
Are we okay with time?
Yes, absolutely.
あと最後に最終工程で毛彫りっていう技法も、説明したので、見せたいと思います。
The last thing that I would like to show you is hairline engraving, which was part of my presentation.
これがちょっと完成。
The one I'm holding on the right is the finished product.
でこの鳥のこの、なんていうかな、羽の部分の黒い線をこれ彫って表現してあります。
So the lines of the feathers on the bird, the black lines, that is being created with the hairline engraving.
でこれが途中段階の一部分彫ってありますが、まだ彫ってないところもあるのでちょっと彫ってみたいと思います。
And this is a work in progress. Some parts have been engraved, but I will work on this to show you the technique.
結構太めの。
The needle that I'm using for engraving is thicker than the one that I was using earlier.
結構失敗が許されないので、 慎重に彫っていきます。
And this process, you cannot fail at this stage. So you have to be very careful when you're working.
で、うちの、父は毛彫りをするのがとてもやっぱりいっぱい仕事をしているので早いです。
And my father, because he has worked on this craft for many years, he's very fast at this process technique. I have worked on this the inner part of the
で、
head.
今は、白っぽいですが、この先ほど言ったように全体漆を塗るとこの彫ったところに、黒い漆が入って黒く表現されます。
The cuts look white at this stage, but if we apply lacquer on top, they would appear darker, as you can see on the product.
はい。で、以上です。
That concludes my demonstration.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you won't mind. We will have a few minutes for some questions, I believe. If you don't mind, if you'd like to ask a question in the hall here, please put your hand up and we will get a microphone to you. We have one right in the front already. Let's start from there so that people that online can hear as well.
Thank you very much for your.
Could you hold your microphone to your mouth?
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Really enjoyed it. I'm just curious, how do you remove the from the shelf such a thin layer? What tools do you use?
削るのは、この今はこのグラインダーって言ってこの研磨の機械がこう回転しているところにまずこれ今まずこの原骸をまずこう裁断します。はい。
Okay, so today we use the grinder, the polishing device, and so this is the shell of abalone, as you can see, and then you cut this shell in this kind of size.
で、この研磨している機械にこの貝をまず何回も通して、これぐらいの薄さにしていきます。
So you would place this shell onto grinder many times to get them onto about this thickness, the one that I'm holding.
で、最終的にこの 0.1 ミリの薄さまで、今度は人の手の感覚だけでこの焦げちゃうので水を当てながらこう研磨していきます。グラインダーで。
But the one that I'm holding on the right is not as thin as 0.1 millimeter. So if you get onto this thinness, you apply water and then make sure you use the hand to check the thinness with each polishing to make sure that it doesn't burn, because it would if you just place too much pressure.
だからとてもギリギリまで薄くするんで、当てすぎちゃうと今度貝がなくなってしまいます。
And 0.1 millimeter is really the limit of the layer that you can get. So if you apply just one more polish, it just would dissolve in nothing in your hand.
で、この原骸の、貝だと、これはおおよそこの薄いのがこう3枚取れます。
And from this shell, you could get the thin layer, 3 of the thin layers from this one shell.
だからこれが、両面研磨し続けてこれになるって。
So this is the original, and by polishing both sides of the shell would result in this one layer.
だから研磨して、薄くしていくんで白い粉が大量に出ます。
And that's where really the pearl dust came from. Because you polish so much, there are just pearl dust everywhere in the workshop.
でもその白い粉は日 日本の工芸でいくと人形の五粉っていって人形のこの白い顔料として使ったり、私は三河の下地に混ぜたりもします。
But this pearl dust, in its strict sense, it's not a waste because it's used in other Japanese traditional crafts. For example, dolls, they have beautiful white porcelain skin, and that is being painted with this pearl dust. And I also use it as part of nikawa as well. I mix it into nikawa to apply.
はい。はい。ありがとう。
Thank you very much. We have another question here in the front. If we could have a microphone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It says mother of pearl inlay. Has it always been abalone shells or did it used to be oyster shells?
Eh, 螺鈿の材料の種類が、アワビの貝殻と、夜光貝っていう日本の沖縄でしか取れない貝殻と、日本では取れないんですけど白蝶貝というちょっと東南アジアとかあったかい地域に生息する貝の大体3つの貝を昔から使っています。
There are three main types of shells that are used for this craft. One is abalone, the other is yakogai from Okinawa, and another one is shirochogai from the Southeast Asian countries. So those three have always been the main shells.
Thank you. Where does the abalone come from, this abalone?
これは国産の、沖縄とか鹿児島に生息する、アワビを使っています。
And this abalone that I use is from Japan, mainly from Okinawa or Kagoshima region.
で、天然のアワビ、5年から10年くらい経つとこのぐらいの大きさになると聞いています。
And this is not farmed natural abalone. And I have been told that it takes about 5 to 10 years to grow to this size.
やっぱり大きな貝を使わないとやっぱり薄くしていくとこの貝の、幅がどんどん小さくなっていくので、やっぱりちっちゃい貝をするとすごいちっちゃくしか取れないのでやっぱり大きな貝をすります。
And the size of abalone is very important because we use such thin layer of it. If we work from smaller abalone, the layer would be too thin and too small to work with. So we need big abalone.
Sorry, I think the question was, do they farm abalone?
養殖もあるんですけど養殖はやっぱりちっちゃいので。
There are farmed abalones, but they tend to be smaller.
Okay, thank you. We have two questions online which I'd like to go to, please. So if we could just wait for a little bit longer. I know we're over time, but thank you very much for your patience. One question is, I would love to join your profession. Is it common for those outside Japan to be welcomed into the train?
ちょっと待って今僕はやっぱりその受け入れにその職人をやっぱり受け入れたいとは思っています。
I have every intention to welcome apprentices, yes.
でもやっぱりこの業界がやっぱりこの職人がいなくなって仕事量が低下してきています。
But the reality is that the number of craftspeople have gone down, and the number of work have gone down as well.
私の力でこの今の仕事をいっぱい安定させて、人を雇うように努力します。
So I will make every effort to work harder to increase the volume of work that we get as an industry, so we can welcome more people in.
その時は、ぜひ
mastery in these techniques?
ありますね。高岡市にはその工芸の大学があります。
Yes, there is. There is a university within Takaoka City that teaches traditional crafts.
そこで漆を専攻すれば、この螺鈿の、技術も勉強することができます。
If you specialize in urushi lacquerware, then you can learn this Raden technique.
他の工芸の学校でも漆の、教科でこの螺鈿を選択するところも多分あると思います。
I believe there are other arts universities within Japan, and if you study urushi lacquerware, then you could possibly learn more about Raden.
はい。
Okay, thank you. We have gone a little bit over time. I do apologize, but thank you very much indeed. Wasn't that wonderful? Thank you so much. Thank you, Musashigawa Takeshi. Thank you. Thank you to Tanaka Masatoshi. Thank you very much. And all our friends from Toyama Prefecture who have made this possible. Thank you very much. Also to those of the Japan National Tourism Organization and to our interpreter, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to everybody in the hall and to all of you who've been viewing. You can rewatch this on our YouTube as well afterwards. I'll just go through what we have coming up. Here at Japan House, we have an exhibition, Looks Delicious, Exploring Japan's Food Replica Culture, where you can find dishes from all over Japan, including Toyama Prefecture. We also have, continuing on our Spotlight on Local Japan series, this November, we are exploring the making of futon from Aichi Prefecture. And we are also going to be celebrating Otsu Matsuri from Shiga Prefecture here at Japan House on Saturday, the 30th of November. Please do come along and join us. Thank you very much once again, and thank you very much. Musashigawa Takeshi. Thank you.